Hello. This is the final set of notes that you're going to take over the art of communication. And so we're going to be talking about what an ethical speaker is and what an effective speaker is. Remember that we discussed that the difference between speaking and talking is kind of like the difference between listening and hearing. Speaking is often referred to as a more formal, prepared type of interaction, whereas talking is unprepared, conversational, interpersonal definitely, but not with the planning that is required. So what do you do if you have to speak? And we talked about the scolding here, but we want to start with show sincerity. Believe what you're talking about. Don't choose a topic that you don't know anything about or that you have no passion for. So for me, to get up in front of a group and talk about the workings of the inside of a car, I'd have a hard time showing sincerity because that's why I take my car to Andy down at the station. So when you're thinking about topics, choose something that you're going to feel very strongly about. Be knowledgeable. So kind of goes with being sincere. You need to know what you're talking about. So again, going back to the car situation, I would not be knowledgeable about that at all, no matter how many YouTube videos I watch. So when you're choosing a topic, you want to speak from an area of knowledge. I think one of the biggest ones, and to me it should almost be number one, is if you're going to choose to speak about a topic, you need to be organized. You need to have that introduction, usually those 3 points, and then a conclusion. So the more organized you are, the more knowledgeable you're going to appear, and the more sincere you're going to appear. Now, know how and when to listen might seem like a strange thing to have if you're speaking, but this is kind of like looking at your audience and knowing through their nonverbal communication what they're communicating with you. So we said that 93% of all communication is done through body language. That's listening or interacting with your speaker. Choose your words carefully. Those and vocab and being organized are two of the key things that I will be grading on in this first semester of your speech class. So choosing words carefully, your vocabulary. You should have a speaker's vocabulary that is different than a talker's vocabulary. So when you get up front, it should not seem like you're talking to us. It should seem like you're speaking. Be aware of that nonverbal communication. Remember what I said about knowing how and when to listen, but also being aware of what your audience is trying to share with you through their body language. And finally, you always need to set some goals. What are you informing your audience? Are you persuading your audience? Are you entertaining your audience? Are you describing something for your audience? If you remember last year when we were reading literature, we said that there were some goals that all literature has: to describe, to narrate, to entertain, to persuade. And that's the same thing when you're giving a speech. Okay? Moving on in your notes, this is something we're going to do in class here. Okay? So ethics refers to a person's sense or right or wrong. And responsible means that you're answerable and accountable for the actions that you will get done when you say you'll get done. So effective communication requires an ethical and responsible person. So ethics is integrity, and responsibility is being answerable and accountable. Okay? So if we just kind of highlighted things here, so we want to understand that what you're going to say, you're going to be responsible for. And ethics is just the word, that's another word for integrity. I can't really highlight here. So those are the things that I would like you to have in your notes. This is in the news right now because some of the advisors to President Trump are being held accountable for things that they said that might not have shown integrity. Okay? So these are the things that I want you to look at when you're working on ethical and responsible speaker. You'll need to get all of these down in your notes. You need to communicate constructively, which means you need to communicate in an effective way. No babbling, okay? I'm babbling right now. No babbling. Communicate constructively. Have a goal and organized and set out what you're going to say. Make sure you establish believability and credibility, your expertise. Last year, Mrs. Negus showed you Sweet Search. Sweet Search is an ethical and good website. You can't just Google everything because we all know that we can't believe everything that we read. We actually are going to do some lessons on fake news. Create goodwill. Don't sit there and choose a topic that you know everybody's going to very violently or ethically disagree with what you're saying. Some people like to choose topics to poke the bear. Let's see if I can get my classmates angry or upset so they can start to argue. That's not what an ethical and responsible speaker does. So at the rallies in Charlottesville, when you had the KKK and the people that were protesting, they should never have been in the same place because that wasn't an ethical or responsible activity. Responsible or ethical choice, I guess. And you should motivate your audience. Audiences should be motivated to learn something new, to be entertained, to be persuaded to go out and change. And don't stereotype people. In other words, don't paint people with a single brush. All poor people aren't this way. All women aren't this way. All blondes aren't this way. Avoid those kinds of stereotyping because that just makes you seem to be narrow-minded. So that's the end of our notes, and that will be what is covered on your quiz that we're going to have tomorrow. The last little bit we will review very briefly before the quiz tomorrow. So make sure your notes are complete and study them for tomorrow's quiz. Thanks a lot. Bye.